Difference between a craving and being hungry. I'm John Laspina, the Carnivore teacher, and today we're going to talk about body signals. When you crave something, that comes from an addiction usually. If you're craving sugar, that means you are chemically addicted to the sugar. I don't know if you know this, but sugar is as chemically addictive as cocaine, probably more. So if you get off of sugar and carbohydrates and processed food, within 2 weeks or so, those cravings disappear. You won't crave sugary sweet things anymore. Give it time and push through the cravings to get to the other side. Just like a drug addict who has to come off of heroin, just like a cigarette smoker who's trying to get off of the nicotine, push through it. When you get to the other side, the cravings are gone. There may be some psychological cravings, but that's not chemical, physical cravings anymore because you got rid of those. Now, hunger is when your body is sending you a signal telling you it wants nutrition. It wants to be fed. That's totally nothing to do with cravings. So you get these signals that go to the brain. They're called ghrelin. And the ghrelin, it's a hormone. The ghrelin tells you, I'm hungry. I want to eat food. And you eat healthy food. And then another signal called leptin goes to the brain saying, I almost feel nauseous. I don't want to eat anymore. I can't eat another bite. That's leptin. You know that feeling, right? So we have ghrelin and we have leptin. And these are body signals. These are hormones that are sent to the brain telling you you're hungry or you're satiated. Cravings are not that way. You could be completely full, stuffed to the gills, Thanksgiving full, and still sit down and eat a bowl of ice cream and eat a whole bunch of Doritos and eat some candy because there's no signal sent to the brain when you eat sugar saying you're full. Isn't that interesting? That's a craving. If you're craving ice cream and candy or sweet things, you have an addiction to sugar. Get past that, get over the addiction, and the cravings disappear, and you can start to distinguish, takes time, between cravings and hunger. Okay, you can go sometimes a whole day and say, I'm just not hungry today. You may want to eat because you always eat at 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, but that's the brain telling you, it's 12 o'clock, I have to eat. Start listening to your body signals. Listen to your ghrelin. It'll tell you, I'm hungry. Listen to the leptin signals. It'll tell you, I don't want any more. I'm done. I just had my meal today. I have 2 meals a day. My first one's around 11 o'clock, 11:30, sometimes 12 o'clock. I just go by my hunger. But I also go by the clock. I'm guilty of that. Right? It's kind of hard to break that when you've always eaten lunch at lunchtime. I don't have breakfast, what people call breakfast. So my first meal of the day is around 11:30. And I was hungry. So I had today 3 whole eggs and 2 egg yolks. I had leftover hamburger that I chopped up, and it wasn't enough hamburger, so I took some ground beef and I fried it up in butter in my skillet. And then I take the eggs and I cook them so the whites are solid, but the yellows are barely cooked because I love a runny yolk. And I mix that in. And then I had a piece of salmon that is rare in the middle, but cooked on the outside. That was my lunch today. I salted to taste. Now today was interesting because I was eating it slowly, enjoying it, loved it. I got to a point where there was maybe 1/10 of the food left on the plate. I usually finish my meal. For some reason, the leptins kicked in and it said, this doesn't taste so good anymore. Tasted great when I started. When I got towards the end, it didn't taste so good anymore. My leptins were telling me, you're full. You're done. We don't need any more nutrition. And you know what I did? I didn't force it into my body to empty the plate. You know, the Finish Your Plate Club? There was a little bit left, so I just threw it out. Sometimes I'll save it and put it in a container for the future meal. But I was full. I got the signal that I didn't want any more. When I started eating, I had the signal that I wanted some. Sometimes I skip lunch. I go through this thought of, it's lunchtime. I have to have my first meal, but that's just a time on a clock. If I pay attention to my body signal, am I hungry? I'm not really hungry. Why am I making this food just because it says it's 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock? I'm not going to eat. So I wait. And sometimes I make it all the way to 6 o'clock. Then I'm hungry. And then when I have my meal at dinner, it's really good until it's not. So when it's really good, it was the ghrelin. When it wasn't, when I was kind of getting full, it was the leptin. Okay, no cravings, no dessert. Now, let's talk about that because there's a habit, a ritual that I was raised with that you always have something sweet after a meal. I had dessert after every single meal. So when I started eating properly, of course, I don't eat desserts, I don't eat candy, I don't eat sugar, I don't eat cake. I still got that not craving because there's no chemical craving, but I still had that mental, I have to have something sweet. It was a mental thing, not a physical craving. So what I do is I do something else. I do. Sometimes I take a piece of butter that I browned, they're called brown butter bites, and I just eat that in the place of a dessert. There's no sugar in it. It's something that took the place of remove and replace. I removed the sugar, I replaced it with the brown butter bite, and it satisfied that thing in my brain that said you have to have something for dessert. Or sometimes I just go for a walk right away, and that thought dissipates because I put something in its place. So can you believe I'm still have the recurring thought of something sweet after a meal? It's not a craving, but it's a mental, because the neuron path was created over decades of me always eating something sweet after dinner. That neuron path is still there. I'm trying to get it to shrivel away. But how do you do that when you're out to dinner, you're on a cruise or whatever, and everybody around you is having dessert, right? And it's what you always did and always had. But I know better. I know that it's not healthy, and I also know that it's not a craving. It's just something that is in my brain that I can look past and replace it with something different. If I'm at a restaurant, I don't know if you guys go on cruises or anything, but we go on a lot of cruises. We live in South Florida. We live near the cruise ports. They're very affordable and inexpensive. It's a great vacation, great value for the money. And they offer a cheese plate instead of dessert. And so sometimes it'd be like, whoa, I'm on vacation. I don't eat a lot of cheese because my body doesn't like that much dairy. But, in the place of a dessert, I'm going to have a couple pieces of this exotic cheese. And it takes the place of the dessert. It works. Back to hunger and cravings, know the difference. And once you do, you have a grasp of your life. And the cravings and the hunger don't control you. You know what they are. And you can eat according to body signals and not according to addictive cravings. Have a wonderful day.